Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. So first things first, I am very happy to say that I am really enjoying what Deco has been doing at Barcelona over the past 10 to 12 months in terms of like his sporting philosophy and who he's trying to go for. Because knowing about this operation here today, which is about Zé Lucas, I'm starting to really understand what Deco's trying to do here. He wants to implement more seeds. He wants to build a stronger foundation. Not only have they been able to like really find great players in La Masia, right, these gems, but they're also looking for gems outside of La Masia, outside of Europe. And of course, Deco is going to be making those mistakes. Deco is going to find some players that may not work out at Barcelona in about 2 years. Every sporting director is like that. I'm sorry. Like, I know that a lot of you guys are waiting to see Deco make some mistakes, etc., whatever, but every sporting director at every club do make mistakes. They sign a lot of youngsters out there from Brazil, Argentina, USA, wherever, India, we could talk about Saudi, wherever it may be, the sporting directors are going to be making some mistakes based off who they're analyzing. But what Barcelona have been doing in the past 4 to 5 months, especially, and who we have been eyeing, I think that Deco has an eye for who has the talent and who can really make it at the club. And once again, we're going to be talking about Zé Lucas because this is a player that started in futsal, right? He started in futsal at Sport Recife, and he developed elite close control and spatial awareness through those years. He was also the captain of Brazil's under-17s, lifted the 2025 South American under-17 championship. He has symbolized technical maturity, leadership, and modern midfield evolution. And Deco has seen this. Deco has seen what this player could do as a central defensive midfielder. Yes, we're talking about a defensive midfielder, somebody who plays in Sergio Busquets' position. I believe that when we look at Zé Lucas, he is a tactical need under this Barcelona team and has strategic vision. He does provide the defensive midfield solution that Hansi Flick lacked in the 2024-2025 season. He matches Barcelona's DNA, press resistance, intelligent, high-tempo ball progression. Once again, he gets it from those futsal days, because in futsal, the ball control, your ability to make choices, the passes, all of that has to be much faster. And he could be La Masia's next foundational pivot, both stylistically and mentally. Now, be careful before you guys do type anything. I'm not trying to say that this player is going to be starting immediately in about 4 to 5 weeks from right now. I'm not saying that. I think that there is going to be a slow progression here, but it's definitely going to be something that Hansi Flick is going to be needing in a few years. And I mean, like, who knows, right? Like, I don't know. I'm not out here acting like a sporting prophet and I know exactly what the future is going to hold. Who knows? What if the player just comes in and he just bosses everybody, pushes Pedri out, pushes Bernal out, and becomes a starter at Barcelona? Who knows? I'm not a prophet. I can't tell the future. I don't know. I'm just going to go based off how things usually go and how they have been going in the past few years. This is a youngster who is, once again, only 17 years old, and it is going to be taking some time for him to get into the first team. Once again, I just do not know how fast he's going to progress. If you asked me 3 years ago whether I saw Lamine Yamal as a Ballon d'Or contender in 2025, I would tell you no, I don't think so. So how can somebody like that have those type of accolades at almost turning 18 years old? It just doesn't make any sense. But going back to Zé Lucas, right? Born on March 23rd, 2008. He's 6'2", by the way, a defensive midfielder, and also can sometimes play as a central midfielder. He has a contract with his current club until 2028, and he can only move to Europe until March 2026 because that is when he does turn 18. So this is next year, and this goes for all Brazilian players. It's the same thing that happened with Estevão Williams. Now he's going to be going to Chelsea in a few weeks because he just turned 18 years old. He made his professional debut back on January 11th, 2025 at 16 years old. In terms of club appearances in 2025, he played 17 matches, has played 1,209 minutes, and once again, he captained the Brazilian under-17 team and led the team to a continental title. There's a reason why the club and the international team want to use the player a lot, right? There's a big reason why they really do rely on him. That is because of his defensive intelligence. He does average 3.82 tackles per 90. That is excellent for breaking up play. He has elite anticipation and positioning. He does screen the defense naturally. He can also read the opposition's move very early. He can act before the attacks fully develop. In terms of his technical arsenal, he averages 4.52 long balls per 90 minutes. That is great for switching play, something that we see today even at Barcelona with Rafinha always being demanded to switch play as fast as possible because he has a strong left and right foot. But Lucas can do the exact same thing and start counters. He also averages 1.04 successful dribbles per 90 minutes. He can glide past pressure zones, very similar to Frenkie de Jong. His composure in tight spaces has also been applauded. And lastly, in terms of his tactical awareness, he can adapt between the holding and central midfield roles. He does support attacking transitions without really compromising the defensive shape. He understands that there needs to be a balance. So he does play with maturity beyond his years, and he always thinks 3 steps ahead. And as I did continue to analyze the player, I did realize that there is 3 different things that this player does carry that does set him apart from all of the other central defensive midfielders that we have today. His leadership and mentality, it is elite for somebody at 17 years old. Captaining Brazil at 17 is just something that you cannot really say. Like, I don't understand that. He's calm and he communicates well with his teammates. So it's not just the talent that he does carry, it's his voice on the pitch and his locker room presence that is really heard. Point number 2, his physical tactical balance that he has. The fact that he is 6 foot and 2 inches, it offers a lot of height that Barcelona do lack in the midfield. We think about Frankie, we think about Pedri. Maybe Marc Bernal, yes, is that player that gives us the height, but the fact that we can also find another Brazilian player, somebody who can come in here with all of his talent and add in on more height within our midfield, that is always a good thing. The more alternatives, the more options, the better. He's a strong dueler, brave under pressure. He's a perfect mix of aggression and technique. I can already see, like, in about maybe 4 or 5 years, if everything goes well, we could see a double pivot of Bernal and Lucas, given their height and the fact that they're so good at reading plays. And then lastly, the positional versatility. He can operate as a 6 and also as an 8. Very similar to Pedri, I would say, but doing this at 6'2" is really good. I've heard that some sports analysts in Brazil claim that this is a player that you can compare him to Douglas Luiz or Casemiro, and that is because with the similar traits that he does carry of vision, ball control, defensive IQ, maybe he was inspired by those 3 players. And there's been very few midfielders in Brazil that have debuted, captained their national team, and logged a lot of minutes in the Serie A by the age of 17 years old. So once again, going back to Deco clearly sees that there could potentially be a problem down the line, that Barcelona may need a CDM that they would need to develop. I know that we have a lot right now. Frankie, Pedri, Bernal, Casado, but who knows what could happen in the future in terms of sales, in terms of maybe an ACL injury, who knows? But Deco is thinking long term, and when he was assessing one of the weaknesses that Barcelona had in the last season, it was the CDM positions. We had no true number 6, like a true well-defined number 6, like a Rodri or Busquets. We did not have that. What we had was Frankie, somebody who complements a true number 6, and Pedri, another player who is basically a central midfielder but has to develop himself into a CDM. We do not have a true CDM at this moment. Like I've said, yes, we have Bernal, but Deco is thinking for the long term and he wants to have options. Frankie de Jong's positional awareness in a double pivot position is sometimes inconsistent. Marc Casado performs well, but he does lack physical domination in certain occasions. We also have to keep in mind that we need to have a lot of aerial presence in the midfield in terms of us defending the set pieces. How are we going to be able to do that when the average height within our midfielders is like 5'8" or 5'7"? This is the reason why Deco has been eyeing Lucas for a very long time, and he is going to be solving 4 total problems. Point number 1, defensive screening plus the intelligence. Point number 2, the physical edge. Point number 3, the technical and tactical DNA. And most importantly, point number 4 is the perfect age for La Masia integration. I think that by the time he does arrive in 2026, when he is 18 years old, he can have a few games at Barça Athletic. And I don't know, maybe Flick and Deco decide that he's just too good to be at Barça Athletic and he should be in the first team and to compete with Casado, Bernal, Gavi, Pedri, etc. But he does definitely fit within this generation that we're trying to build with the group of players of Yamal, Cubarsí, Balde, Bernal, Casado, and much more. So here's how I do think it's going to play out if he were to be signed. In the 2025-2026 season, if he does move and he does get signed and he comes to us in the summer of 2026, that would basically mean that he would take on the hybrid training role, meaning that he's going to bounce between Barça Athletic and also the first team. And he's going to need to have that adjustment period on knowing what it's like to have that tempo in La Liga and have more time on knowing how to understand the Barcelona system. It's something that Vitor Roque really did struggle on in terms of adapting to La Liga, understanding the system at Barcelona. So I think that the 2026-2027 season is going to be that type of season. Going into the next one, from 2027 all the way until 2029, I believe that he will be in the first team. He will give us great squad depth and he can feature in those Copa del Rey matches. He'll still be only 19-20 years old, and hopefully if everything does go well and the integration is really good, and maybe, I don't know, maybe by that point Frankie is gone and we only have Bernal, Gavi, and Pedri, and maybe even possibly Casado, that is when we can finally say that, okay, this player is ready. In 2028 or 2029, he can be one of our main starters and be the anchor to our midfield in big Champions League matches. That is just my opinion. Obviously, like I've said, I don't know. Like, who knows how this player is going to turn out? Maybe he's just so damn good that in the summer of 2026, Hansi Flick is like, I have to start this player next to Pedri or whatever. But that is just my way of thinking, because after seeing so many Brazilian players come to Barcelona and fail because they have been pressured to go into the first team immediately, it has been really bad. Giovanni, who signed to Barcelona back in 2001 for 18 million euros, he had high expectations but failed to make an impact. It was a very disappointing signing, or probably the most disappointing signing in club history. Henrique also, maybe, I would just say Henrique, who got signed in 2008 for 8 million euros, never really ended up being competitive at Barcelona. It was bad. Vitor Roque as well, we just talked about the player. He failed to impress. Malcolm, I would say that he was decent, but he was not given the chances. There was not a real sporting project for him. It was very fast in terms of how they wanted to really include him into the 11. It was bad. Mateus Fernandes, another player, another CDM that Bartomeu wanted. It also did not end up working well. Arthur Melo, even if you have a player who integrates himself extremely fast in the midfield, like Arthur Melo, right? Sometimes it just does not end up working out in the long run. This guy only lasts like two seasons and he burnt out and they did not want him anymore. And so it was bad. So like I said, I'm just going based off what I have seen and how these Brazilian players came to Barcelona under-delivered for whatever reason. We have to take it slow if Zé Lucas does get signed. Like I've said, that is going to be my projected timeline from 2026 all the way until 2027. Hybrid. Keep him balanced between Barça Athletic and the first team. In 2027, 2028, 2029, we'll see. So that is it. That is going to be wrapping up today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.